Historically, the probability as science was developed to provide the support for gambling, and historically an alternative way was used to measure the likelihood of an outcome, called odds. Next we will discuss the odds. The odds of an event E is the ratio of the number of ways that the event may occur to the number of ways that the event may not occur. We can also define odds via formula. Let's say we have an experiment with a known sample space. And event E is defined by the list of X outcomes from the sample space. Then the remaining Y outcomes are not used in the definition of E and can be referred to as not E. We say the odds in favor of E are X to Y, and we write X colon Y. And we say the odds against E are Y to X, and we write Y colon X. For example, let's find the odds that there are exactly 2 heads out of 2 tosses of a fair coin. In our experiment of tossing a coin 2 times, the sample space is the following. Let E be an event in which we have exactly 2 heads out of 2 tosses of a fair coin. Only one outcome makes up the event E, and the remaining 3 are not E. We say the odds in favor of E are 1 to 3, and the odds against E are 3 to 1. Often the odds are reported as a simplified ratio, that is the ratio in which both sides are reduced by the common factor. So the odds in favor of getting an odd number when rolling a die can be expressed as 1 to 1 instead of 3 to 3, and the odds in favor of rolling a number less than 3 when rolling a die can be expressed as 1 to 2 instead of 2 to 4. When there is more than one way to express the same quantity, one must know how to convert from one way to another. Here's how we convert from odds to probability. If the odds in favor of event E are X to Y, then the probability of E can be computed by dividing X by the sum of X and Y. This table summarizes the conversion rule. For example, if the odds of event E are 3 to 1, then the probability of E can be found by dividing 3 by 4 to get 0.75, which is equivalent to 75%. Here's how we convert from probability to odds. If the probability of an event E is p%, then the odds in favor of E can be computed as the ratio of p to 100 minus p. And this table summarizes the conversion rule. For example, if the probability of E is 20%, then the odds in favor of E are 20 to 80, which is the same as 1 to 4. Alternatively, if the probability of an event E is given by a fraction a over n, then the odds in favor of E are a to n minus a. And this table summarizes this conversion rule. For example, if probability of event E is equal to 4 over 7, then the odds in favor of E are 4 to 3. Although it is pretty straightforward how to use odds, the only reason we covered it is to pay the respect to the historical relation between the probability and gambling.